Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about how to beat inflation in retirement.
This is something that a lot of people are feeling right now, especially these last 2 years because of how high inflation has been in the United States. We're going to throw this graphic up for you. The last 3 years, 2021, 7%, 2022, 6.5%, 2023, 3.4%. Now, for the decade previous to this, inflation hovered at about 1 to 2%. So it's gone up dramatically in the last few years. That's why people are really feeling it, and there's so much talk about it right now.
Absolutely. It's just something that's really affecting everybody, but more so for those looking to retirement. It's starting to kind of make you feel like, question some things. Should I change my numbers? Should I work longer? Should I move money to different places? Maybe invest in a different way? So we're going to discuss all that. What are some things that you can do in order to beat inflation, maybe even exceed it?
Yeah, and so we need to point out too that this is not an abnormal thing. This has happened in the past. In fact, when we were children, and a lot of you were children, this was actually much worse. 1978 was 9%, 1979 13.3%, and 1980 12.5%. I don't really remember that in my pocketbook. I do remember hearing about these things on the news as my parents were watching the news in the living room, and back then we only had the one TV, so we all heard the same thing. So I do remember that, but it didn't really affect us. But it's not abnormal. This does come and go, but there's no telling how long this will be with us. So we do have to do something about it, because back then it did last for quite a long time. So how do you protect yourself going forward? Because this is essentially eroding the money you have saved up and have earned, and it's eroding the purchasing power that you gain from your money. And retirement is all about protecting your purchasing power. So the first thing we need to do is to be invested.
All right, and this is one that we talk a lot about, and this is why investment and being invested in the market is really a key factor here, and we have used it to our advantage over these last few years for sure.
Yeah, because corporate profits right now are at an all-time high. The markets have gone up higher than most other periods of time. And a lot of people would say that that is because of corporate profits, that's why inflation has gone up. So they are driving it, and they're going to benefit from it. So I don't love the fact that McDonald's is raising its prices, but we are shareholders in McDonald's, so it does soften the blow that they're raising all our prices. In fact, our stock portfolio is up over 20% in the last year alone. So this inflation has actually probably added to our net worth, if you really think about it, because we've probably made more than we've spent, especially because we're not in the U.S. right now for the last year. But even if we were in the U.S., inflation can add to your bottom line if that inflation is from corporate profits, if you are invested.
And in a way, this is kind of like beating them at their own game. Mm-hmm. If they're going to cause the inflation, they're also going to be helping us to fund our retirement through the market, and through getting money from the shares.
Exactly. So the second thing you can do is to be mobile, and currency is fluid. We cannot state this enough. The US dollar trades against every other currency in the world every single day, and right now the US dollar is very, very strong. And it's easy to see which countries will be cheap for you to go to. And it's not just if you're US, if you're Canadian, if you're Australian. Check which countries your currency is doing well against. For instance, in Japan, we were just there, and to buy something that costs 1,000 yen in Japan, currently you'd have to give them $6.36. But in 2020, 4 years ago, you would have had to give them $9.70. So you're getting a 33% discount on every purchase you make just by being in Japan. Not to mention that their inflation has been lower on top of that. And boy, did we ever see this when we were in Japan.
Oh my goodness. We saw this all over the place. As a matter of fact, you made a couple of key purchases
I
while
did.
we were there
I did.
because it was such a great deal. Plus, getting the tax free on top of that. You bought the camera, your dream camera.
Yeah.
While we were in Japan, because you got such an amazing deal. It was a huge discount compared to what it would have cost you in the U.S. So we really saw it all over the place. Tons of Westerners, a lot of Americans and Europeans traveling there and purchasing so many things. The lines for the tax-free were so long in every single shop, it seems like, and specifically in the electronic stores too. So it really does make a huge difference what the difference is between your home dollar, for us US dollar, against whatever country we're traveling to.
Yeah, and it's not just electronics, it's your food, it's your housing, it's everything. Everything was cheap. So if you are living like that full time like we are, you can just basically pick and choose the countries you want to go to, which the US dollar is very strong against at that moment, and you can save an additional 10, 20, 30% on everything you buy. So that adds essentially that much back into your budget every single month. If you're on a $4,000 budget, I mean, that alone, 30% savings is $1,200 a month that you don't need to make, because you're just getting that money for free by being in another country. So that's an amazing one. The third one is to be frugal and wise, live below your means, and use all the tools available to you.
Absolutely, and this is one that we have really stuck to for basically our whole life. We've set a budget and we try to stay under that budget as much as possible. And people say all the time, like, oh my gosh, you guys make so much money from your YouTube channel, your budget should be way more than $4,000 a month. I'm like, I want it to be $3,500. I want to live underneath that budget. I don't want to go right up against it, every single month. We always are trying to find ways, to stay under that budget.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's other things you can do, like maximizing your credit card spending to be earning as many things as you can. And a lot of people have not looked into that. And it's we've got a whole video on the channel of the best card to use for every situation. I will link that video in the description so that you'll know when you should be. There are cards where you can earn 4 times the points on groceries, 4 times the points on dining out. That's the MX Gold card. You should be using that card every time you're buying groceries, every time you're dining out. If you're not, you're leaving points on the table, and points are what gives us a lot of our free months, free flights, free everything. It's just another way to maximize everything. And all these cards come with welcome offers when you sign up for them. We have a link to the highest elevated welcome offers. In other words, which cards are giving you the best welcome offer for that very month. So I'll put a link to that in the description as well. Check that out, because if you're not using those things, you are definitely leaving money on the table. The fourth one's going to be earning something so you don't need to deplete your investments. A lot of people ask us, we're invested in a lot of stocks, and we do have a lot of dividend paying stocks. We talk about that regularly. We have Realty Income. We have a lot of other REITs. We have about 8 REITs that we're invested in, and they pay us a lot of dividends every month, but we're not living on those dividends. We are reinvesting those dividends back into the stock market because of the YouTube income that we do have. It's going to let that money grow and grow and grow. Now, a lot of retirees try to set up their portfolio to make 6% dividends per year, and that's amazing because that will generally outpace inflation. Except for these last couple of years, and except for in the 80s and 90s, it wouldn't have. So that's when it can be a little bit troublesome for them. So if you do a couple of years where you're not taking that money out and you're just reinvesting it, it's going to grow it so much bigger, so much quicker, and you really won't have to worry about it after that.
Absolutely. I think this is a key one, because you want to be adding instead of just always subtracting, especially when you're, combating inflation. You want to add to the pot. And I think that's what it was so important for us when this opportunity came up, for YouTube. And we thought, let's go for it because we can add to the pot. Now, we didn't realize we were going to be adding so much, which has been absolutely incredible. But it just has made an enormous difference into, us being able to invest even more.
Exactly. The next one is going to be spending in only one place. This one we see a ton. So we are currently spending in only one place. We are in Manila right now, Philippines. All of our money is going into Manila. We don't have an extra house. We don't have car payments somewhere. We don't have a storage unit somewhere. We're only spending in the place where we are. And when you try to travel and you keep a house, you're double paying, essentially. If you go on 3 months of vacation a year or 3 months of travel and you keep your house, you're spending for 3 months twice. And we see people do that all the time. They'll put stuff in storage. They'll just be spending money all over the world instead of where they actually are. And, not everybody's going to be able to do all 5 of these things. We are doing all 5 though. And we can tell you that if you implement all of these things, you will not only beat inflation, you will exceed inflation, and it will be actually working to your benefit. But pick and choose which ones you want to do. Think carefully. If you're not doing any of these, then you should probably think about adding 1 or 2 to your mix in the next few years.
Yeah, just start out with a couple of them, like you said, and keep adding to them because, even on the be spending in only one place, even if you own your home, you still have to spend money. You still have to pay your taxes. You still have to take care of the property, all those types of things. Insurance, all of those things, you're still spending money there. So your goal is for that to be zero, gone.
Exactly, yeah. And every time you leave that house, if you go on a cruise, you're paying for the cruise. You're still paying for that house. You don't get to turn your electricity off. It's not going to get much, but you're still paying property taxes on those weeks you're on the cruise and all that stuff. So it's just going to add up over time. So, we meet people that aren't really doing any of this and they're making actually a lot of money, but they just seem to never be able to make ends meet. And it's likely because they haven't pared this down and gone kind of frugal, gone into conservation mode. So we're talking about inflation being high and worrisome. You can attack it though, and these are the 5 ways we see to attack it. They have worked for us, and I think that they will work for you as well.
Yeah, definitely. Don't let those scare you away. Guys, if you have any questions, leave those for us down in the comment section. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing to the channel for more videos like this. Give us a like if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.